Hey, so good morning or hello to everyone and welcome to our webinar, Standards That Sell. Thank you for joining us from around the world. My name is Judith Krämer and I'll be your moderator today with Zeynep. We are pleased to bring together two highly respected experts in the field of sustainability standards in agriculture. I will just shortly introduce them. We have Dr. Tesfaye Berihun from Addis Ababa University in Ethiopia. He recently published a study on the impact of voluntary sustainability standards on smallholder coffee farms in Ethiopia, and he will share insights from that research. And we also welcome Mr. Shamiru Masego, an auditor of organic certification systems in Uganda, and he will bring a more practical view of the certification process and really works on the ground. So that's also our agenda. We will start with a short icebreaker. Then Dr. Tesfaye will do his presentation. That will be around 20 minutes. After that, we can have a short Q&A just in case there are any questions about that. And after that, Mr. Masego will take over with his presentation. Again, we can answer questions after that. But after the presentations and all this part, we will have an interactive discussion and also Q&A with the questions that you have sent us prior and everything that was not answered before. And then we will wrap up all this new information and give our takeaways and follow up with the next steps. So the icebreaker is just a short, sorry. Are there any questions? No? Okay, sorry.
No.
Okay, we start with a short poll with the questions, with certifications, are you familiar with, or maybe for the Ugandans, you already have with your farm or your producer operation, and you can just click on the different certifications, or if you have any other certifications, you can write them in the chat so that we are aware what your so far experiences are. Okay, so I think it's mostly organic farming, as we were already aware of. Okay, also Fairtrade and Rainforest Alliance. I think organic farming and Fairtrade will play a huge part in today's session. Okay. Thank you for voting. I think it really suits our experts' knowledge. Okay. And now I think I would already hand the presentation over to Dr. Tesfaye.
Yes, maybe I can stop sharing.
Thank you for having me. My presentation is on the impact of voluntary sustainability standards, basically fair trade and organic certification on farmers and cooperatives in Ethiopia. I think I have to share the slide. In this era of global challenge, actually, ranging from poverty and climate change, voluntary sustainability standards have emerged as a powerful market-based instruments aimed at making trade more equitable and environmentally sound. And they are actually directly linked to the sustainable development goals like no poverty. Many of the sustainability development goals are aligned with the VC's agendas like no poverty, decent work, responsible consumption, life on Earth. These are some of the standard objectives linked with these sustainable developments. However, there is a debate. Like proponents argue that certification provides benefits. It helps millions of farmers worldwide, but critics still argue it just hinders international trades. The core issue here is that the evidence is mixed, inconclusive, and highly contested, and we lack robust studies from crucial regions like Africa. Most of the studies we have in these stability standards are from Latin America. So here we just have to, we just need to focus on the Ethiopian conditions. That's why we prefer to study these things. To understand the stake, we decided to look at Ethiopia. As you know, Ethiopia is widely recognized as the largest coffee producers and exporters, followed by Uganda. In fact, Uganda is recognized as the top exporter last May. When we look at the entire year, the fiscal year, Ethiopia is the largest exporter. Anyways, coffee is not just a crop here in Ethiopia. It's an economic and cultural cornerstones. Millions of smallholder families depend on it for their survival. So, despite its global importance, Ethiopia's coffee sector has been severely understudied in that context of sustainability standard. So, the research aims to fill these gaps. To provide a holistic assessment, this presentation is structured around three core objectives: interlinked research. We just have done three consecutive researches on. First one, we look at the direct economic impacts, the most commonly cited benefits. In fact, most of the VSS impact assessments are conducted around economic impacts. So we have done that too. So we just try to see how Fairtrade and Organic dairy certification affects yields, price, and dividends, incomes, and so on. And the second, we see the social dimensions, especially focusing on wage laborers, a group often ignored in these voluntary sustainability standard discussions. There are really limited studies in these areas. The few limited studies themselves focus on the larger cultural, plantations and agroforestries and agro-industries, actually, the worker situations on that plantations. They usually overlook the situation of smallholder farmers and cooperatives, in which the majority of rural workers are employed. So we just try to have a look on the impact of sustainability standards on these social issues, particularly on the labor issues. Finally, and most innovatively, we moved beyond fragmented analysis to examine how these economic, social, and environmental outcomes interact. Do they create synergies or lead to difficult trade-offs? Usually studies, some literatures tip that there are significant trade-offs. By design, it's believed to have synergies. Synergetic sustainability is in the design, but some studies suggest there are trade-offs, in fact. For example, economic gains can motivate farmers to expand their farm to protected areas, which is adverse for the environment for some time, and use of environmentally friendly practices sometimes hamper the productions that adversely affects the economies. There are some synergies which is identified in some areas, in fact. So we just try to see these interactions, whether there are synergies or trade-offs. That's what we are trying to do in the sub issues. Just to look at the methodology at a glance, the research was conducted in the Sidama region, major coffee producers with widespread VSS adoption. We focused on the most relevant standards, Fairtrade and Organic, the most commonly practiced certifications in Ethiopia. For example, in my state area alone, out of like 57 around cooperatives, 41 of them are Fairtrade certified, and 32 of them are Fairtrade Organic double certified. That means we have a good case to see the impacts of this voluntary sustainability standards. So we employed a mixed method approach with household and labor survey and cooperative interview, and to ensure rigor and establish credible causal inference, controlling for selection bias, we used advanced econometric techniques, including propensity score matching, endogenous treatment regression, two-stage least square, IV probit, and we used structural equation modeling to disentangle the complex relationship between sustainability dimensions. The key findings, let me go to the key findings. As I told you, the first one is the economic impact. So our first major finding is the double fair trade organic certification provides a clear economic advantage. Certified farmers achieved significantly higher yields, secured better price, higher dividends, and so their incomes rises. So from the economic perspective, we just have seen certification clearly improves the livelihoods of smallholder farmers and members of cooperatives, in fact. However, this is not a simple story. We included cooperative performance as a proxy control variable to account for cooperative characters, and we found a moderated results. In fact, still, we just try to include this cooperative heterogeneities as a control variable to see whether there is moderation or unobserved confounders. We still have found positive effects. However, if we fail to control cooperative characteristics, we would have overstated VSS impacts. But still, we have positive VSS impacts, but it's highly moderated by cooperatives. So the strengths and management quality of the cooperative directly influenced how much benefits farmers received. The problem that we find here is, in fact, certification compliance costs, initial certification costs, and compliance costs. Maybe our friend will tell us how costly that is, maybe, but in my assessment, it's too costly, especially for those who started farming, for young Uganda farmers. It could be high for initials. And the other problem that we observed in this regard in the economic aspects is that there is a premium pass-through, little premium pass-through to the the members. There are high costs which have been taken by the cooperative overhead and intermediaries. So the other problem that we observed, which can be difficult for young Ugandan farmers for this reason, is these little premium pass-throughs. The second one is the social impacts, which is it clear, the screen? Oh, no. Sorry, I can't see it clearly. Yeah. The second one, the second key finding is impacts on social issues, particularly on the labors. So the story of decent work is a story of two realities, in fact. For workers employed directly by certified cooperatives, we saw marked improvements, better pay, formal contracts and access to trainings. However, for the vast number of workers or smallholder family, farmers or informal arrangements, which constitute the majority of rural labor forces, the impact were negligible. This device showed that VSS in their current form are effective in structured settings, but are not well equipped to address the deep-seated informality that characterize rural economies. Here we just try to see the VSS impacts for corporate workers and for workers directly employed to smallholder family farms. So we don't see that much improvements on the informal sectors. That means for farmers directly employed for small farms and family farms. The means of automation is the third one. Is we have tried to assess whether there is synergies and trade-offs. Perhaps the most intriguing finding comes from our integrated analysis. In fact, we found that they successfully improve economic and environmental performance and somewhat social performance, in fact. However, contrary to the ideal synergetic sustainability, these improvements happened largely in isolation. We just have seen some positive impacts in the environmental aspects. There are like shade tree management, large shade cover, shade trees are there, organic farming practices, and there are some improvements in the environmental aspects. And as I've seen, as I've told you, there are also significant economic impacts. But there are some impacts in the social aspects, as I said, only in the cooperatives where there is a platform for monitoring and evaluation. But contrary to this idea of synergetic sustainability in the design, we don't find that. The good thing is we don't also find trade-offs. We found no strong evidence that economic gains automatically translated to better social welfare, nor did the environmental stewardship come at a significant economic cost. So this fragmented sustainability suggests that the pillars advance in parallels, driven by the specific rules of standards, rather than reinforcing each other in a transformative cycle. So one thing that we need to bear in our mind in this regard is we don't expect synergies unless we work on the things in order to make them more virtuously related. Otherwise, if you sit and look how that by default creates sort of synergies, doesn't work for some time. Okay. Okay. So the overarching conclusion is that, or the big picture and conclusion is that the impact of sustainability standards is not solely determined by its design in Brussels or New York, wherever. It's fundamentally mediated by the pre-existing structure and local institutions, especially cooperatives. And a well-governed cooperative can amplify benefits, and pervasive formality can diminish them. This is what we have learned on the ground. Therefore, the challenges also there. High cost and complexity are major barriers, particularly for youth farmers and new entrants. Group certification can help to overcome this one. In fact, it is sometimes can be unthinkable for individuals if they are really beginners and having small farms. So this group certification can be a good model for them to start with certifications, in fact. As affordability challenges are there paramount. So the leaky premium problem is also another challenge. Price premiums are often weakened by costs and intermediaries before reaching farmers, highlighting the need for transparent cooperative governance. It's common in every cooperatives. In our study, we have seen that almost 1/3 of the premium reached to the farmers. The other just goes around as a cooperative overhead cost and some other things. So we gotta improve these leaky premiums, in fact. Overall, VSS are powerful incentive, but they're not a substitute for strong local institutions, good governance, and supportive public policies. They're a piece of the puzzle, not the entire solutions. As a policy and practical recommendations, based on our finding, we propose several recommendations, in fact, for governments and development agencies. The priority should be to invest in strengthening cooperatives and integrate VSS into national agricultural policies and strategies. For certification bodies, it's time to innovate, developing smart premium models that make certification self-sustaining, because due to this high certification cost, some farmers, cooperatives are withdrawing. In our study, we just tried to assess Rainforest Alliance as well, because the three of them are commonly practiced. In fact, Fairtrade and Organic are the most important one in the area, but they used to have this Rainforest Alliance, but they withdraw. So this multiple certification raises the cost. So they are forced to choose the one which can give them better market access. So they withdraw. So certification bodies need to consider these things and to move from simple compliance and simple checklists to incentive models that actively reward integrated sustainability. Example, tying or attaching premium to environmental and social matrices. There are premiums which given for the farmers, but they invest into something. Sometimes farmers themselves are not involved in the selection. There are huge debates, in fact, and resentments by the farmer side. It's believed to be more democratic on the selection of the premium investments, but farmers usually complain that they don't have the investment that they really needed. They usually invest on the cooperatives and on some other things. So it's good to tie premiums to some environmental and social metrics that can improve the social, environmental, and the economic situation. For example, if premiums are for some reason invested into organic compost preparation, that would be a nice idea to the farmers because it just reduces their costs as they are engaged into organic certification, getting more organic compost become a problem. So if they invest on that, they would get economic benefits. At the same time, it can create employment, the social benefits, and it improves organic management, so that just attaching premiums to some environmental and social metrics would be an advantage. And create context-appropriate stepwise approach for new entrants, especially young farmers, and develop tool for informal labor contexts are some of the things this certification body needs to improve. It might be difficult for some interest concerns, in fact, but the proliferation of voluntary sustainability standards sometimes can lead to credibility gaps, increased costs, and a potential risk to the both. Enhancing cooperation between various systems through mechanisms like mutual recognition and meta regulation can improve the situation there. Because here we have so many certifications, so farmers sometimes feel that they are not helping if they are more, even if they prefer to have all, the costs just significantly increases. At the same time, it just creates credit gap. So it would be a nice idea to have a sort of mutual recognition or meta regulation, but it doesn't seem to happen for some reason because there are interests. But it would be a nice idea for these certification bodies. And for cooperatives and their international buyers, fostering transparency and equitable partnership and direct trading is a key to ensuring the benefits truly reach to the farmers. Because, the trust established within the value chain and the incentive for long-term investment might promote certified farmers to allocate more resources toward the certified coffee cultivation and management. So creating this long-standing and equitable partnership is the most important one with their international buyers, because the trust and the established demand will just motivate them to invest all what they have toward that certification activities. That would help some farmers. I'm just trying to include some of the questions, in fact. So for NGOs and development agencies, the role is to be the bridge, providing the upfront financial and technical support that empowers farmers and their cooperatives to navigate this system successfully. In conclusion, our research showed that sustainability standards can be a force for good, but their success is deeply rooted into local realities. They offer a pathway, but as a pathway, we must build together with full attention to institutions, equity, and integration. If we are thinking of the sustainability, all people in all walks of life, producers, consumers, governments, NGOs, need to share responsibilities among themselves. It's not something that one group, consumers or producers, can achieve. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tesfaye. I think it was a really nice presentation, and it was like we had the clear points of the key findings, which was nice. Is not before getting the questions from everyone who has any questions regarding the study, We had one question beforehand about this study, which was what lessons from this research in Ethiopia could young farmers in Uganda who wants to join Fairtrade or organic certification programs can learn. So in a way, what you would suggest for the young farmers in Uganda if they want to get involved, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I just try to incorporate into my conclusion and recommendation as well. In fact, but just to make it out loud and clear, farmers or young farmers can learn from Ethiopia that context matters. In fact, this is by design is good. Government is the context matters. The cooperatives, the local policies, strategies in the agricultural sector, all these are very important. So what they need to do in this regard is that they try to form a kind of groups, in fact, some certified and labeling organization don't want to give certification for producers whose number is pretty much high number, so they don't give, but they can create sort of group model or cooperatives that would help them to tackle this high certification costs and compliance cost at the same time. It's not only the certification. What matters is the compliance throughout their farming, because they are supposed to comply with some labor standards. If they are certified with organic farms, they are supposed to comply with organic requirements. So there are costs. So forming kind of group would help them to tackle this, and they need to reach some NGOs or development agencies who can just give them a kind of loan, not just money given, but just to just go through that initially. They can reach these NGOs and development agencies who can help them to cover at least their initial certifications. And at the same time, once they establish this group or cooperatives, there must be a kind of well governance. Otherwise, forming group or cooperative alone doesn't work, because we have seen some farmers forming cooperatives, but the cooperative, they are kind of public structure. So there's some problems and the governance issues. So once they establish the group, they need to have transparent practice and form good governance, because it's through their group or cooperative that they can get the premiums. Most of the economic benefits they get from certification is through the dividends that we see. They receive a dividend from their primary cooperatives, and they also receive a premium, second round premium from the unions. So the premium given, most of the benefits they get from the certification is through the dividend. So the group or cooperative they form matters most, just to have this dividends again. In fact, that depends on the patronage, the contribution they have to the cooperatives, but they have to work on the governance as well. And they have to reach governments and ask for policy incentives, strategies, because tax relief for some time for certified farms. That would help them, because we have seen those who are working closely with the local agricultural office, with development agents and extension workers, are better off for some time. So these are some of the things they need to do. I think this can help them.
Okay, thank you. I think it was like a really comprehensive answer. And also, I think Johannes has a question. He said that in average, only 1/3 of the premiums reach to the farmers, depending on your research. Was that the finding?
Pardon?
In average, only 1/3 of the premiums reach to the farmers.
Yeah. Yes. That's what we have seen in our studies. Yeah.
Okay.
Directly, 1/3 of the premium directly reach to the farmers. The rest just goes around, it's cooperative overhead or something like that.
Okay, I see. Is there anyone else has any questions or anything to add? Because we have limited time, and if there are no questions, maybe we can move to Mr. Shamiru's presentation, and in the end, we can still have some time to have discussions about two of the presentations. Yeah, okay. Then there are no questions, I think. Thank you, Dr. Tesfaye. And I think now we can move forward to the next presentation.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you are. My name is Shamiru Masego, and I'm an auditor with Control Union Uganda. For now, specifically for 3 standards, that's organic, global gap, and GRASP. But for this engagement, I'll concentrate more on organic, because GRASP is, global gap and GRASP are more for fresh fruits and vegetables. And now we are concentrating more on coffee. So I won't dwell so much into global gap and GRASP. I'm also happy to share that I'm an alumni for the International Young Farmers Exchange Program. Yeah, I had my 3 months in Germany. I think that's where I met Johannes. So on a personal basis, I know Johannes, so that's where we met in the IYFEP program. I was part of the 5th cohort, and I had my internship at IASP Research Institute in Berlin. So thank you, Johannes, for the opportunity offered during the IYFEP. And I'm happy to give back to the Shoal Mastiff Tank and UNIFA. Generally, giving back to the community, I'm happy to share. So part of my presentation, I will cover like 4 major things, 4 or 5. One will have a brief introduction about certification, then the main certification standards for coffee, then an overview of the certification process, then the importance and challenges of certification. If there's anything you need me to tackle and I've left it out, maybe you could remind me, or you could ask during Q&A, then I can talk about it. But as from me, that is what I organized for this presentation. And then for our previous presenter from Ethiopia, I'm happy to notify you that my certifier is in Ethiopia. Actually, our certifying office is in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. So basically, we are in this together generally. So I'm happy to share that. So certification, one thing you have to know about certification, it's just a process of providing someone or something an official document attesting to the status or level of achievement. So it's not enough to say that you've done, there is a given way you're doing something without a document to attest to that. There are farmers, there are operators that are doing their farming and they're complying to a given regulation. But if there is no document to attest to that, then you can't stand out and say you're certified. Even if you do everything from A to Z of a given standard, but you're not certified for that standard, then you can't put, or you can't label your product, you can't put that product on market and label it as certified for that standard. Now, the other thing we need to know about certifications is that they are voluntary. They're voluntary. Sorry. They're voluntary and market driven. I know right now we are talking about certification of coffee, but we have very many farmers of coffee that are farming and selling their coffee, and it's not certified. And no one is caring because the market to which they are selling their coffee is not demanding for the certificate. So the market standards or the certifications, the different ones, the different certification standards are voluntary. By voluntary, I mean no one is going to punish you for not having that standard. It is a voluntary certification. But like I said, it is market driven. Usually, it is the market where you're selling your product that will ask you, that will say, Johannes, fine, you have coffee, but I need coffee that is certified to this standard. So that demand from the market where you're selling will push you downwards and then give you a question, how do I get my coffee certified? So that question is what makes you begin looking for CBs that can offer you the certificate so that you can comply to the demand of your market. Am I making sense? Okay, thank you. Okay, the main standards, the main certification standards for coffee, we have organic, fair trade, like many of us know already. Then you have Rainforest Alliance. Rainforest Alliance merged with UTZ. Previously, UTZ and Rainforest Alliance were different standards, but they merged to form one standard. We also have bird friendly and FOSI. One major thing we need to know about the certification standards for coffee, they are majorly circled in two things. One is sustainability, and two is the social aspect. Basically, all the standards for certification of coffee are pillared into sustainable production and then the social aspects of production. So they may be different standards. Like I told you, Rainforest Alliance and UTZ were different standards. They may be looking at the same things, but looking at them differently. Each of them has, let's say, a separate thing that, let's say, they're focusing on more than the other, but at the end of the day, usually the core is the same for the certification standards for coffee. Looking at two things majorly, one is sustainability and the other one is the social aspect of production. So I'll give a brief insight of what is entailed in each of the certification standards of coffee. So I'll start with organic certification. I'm sure that is the most commonly known certification for almost all our products. It's organic certification. And now, organic certification, as the statement says, is just broad. When someone says organic certification, my first bullet says it depends on the targeted market. The picture I've showed up there is for the USDA organic. USDA is the organic standard when you want to export to the US. Actually, the standard is the National Organic Program of the United States Department of Agriculture. That is like the standard. So, like I told you that the certificate is market driven. Now, if you want to export or to have your product sold and labeled as organic in US, then the organic standard you need to be certified for, or that your product needs to be certified for, is USDA. Now, we have other organic standards. We have EU. If you want to sell your product as organic certified to any of the 26 states in the EU or 26 countries in the EU, then you need to have your product certified EU. If you want to sell to Japan, then you need to have the Japanese agriculture standard. So depending on your intended market, that's why I said certification is market driven. So even if your product is certified organic, but it's certified organic for NOP, NOP is USDA. If it's certified for NOP, then you can't sell it as organic in the EU. And if it's certified organic, like EU organic, then you can't sell it as organic in the US. Right together. So depending on your market, depending on your intended market or where you have your customer or where your client is, then that is the certification that you need. But as Contra Union, for us, what we offer to clients, we try to give them, can I say, like a blanket certification, such that if someone gets certified for organic, cost-wise, it's not so much different. Cost-wise, especially if you have EU and NOP, then the cost is almost the same. Actually, it's the same for EU and NOP. Unless you're adding, unless adding the Japanese one, the Japanese agriculture standard, because a certificate is issued by the Japanese agriculture standard and not by the CB. So they add a small charge for the certificate, the small charge that will be paid to the Japanese agriculture standard to give you the certificate. And then the compliance, it is almost the same though, like I told you, the standards may keep looking at the same things differently. One may demand a little more than the other. Then during audit, there are technicalities that we factor in when doing the audit so that we make sure the compliance covers all through. I'll give you an example. When doing audit for the USDA organic agriculture, the sampling rate, if it's a group of farmers, is 1.4, the square root of the number of farmers. If a group of farmers has, let's say, 100 farmers, then during audit, we don't inspect all the 100 farmers, but we sample out. In the sampling out, we visit 1.4 times the square root of 100. Then that's the number of farmers we visit. But the EU looks at 5% of the number of farmers. So it is all sampling, but each of the standards has a different formula. Each of the standards has a different formula. So the focus is the same, but each of the standards looks at it differently. Then if we look at the Japanese agricultural standards, then they will need more documentation, they will need more human resources, I would say, than the others. If it's a group, I'll talk generally in a group of farmers because usually if you want quantities and for you to break even, people often, at least in Uganda, people often come for group certification. Individual certification needs when you have, let's say, a very big chunk of land, and then all that you produce on your farm is enough for you to fulfill your market. Because one thing about certification is the whole value chain should be certified. If you have a group of 100 farmers, we should know those 100 farmers, what are they growing? If let's say they are growing coffee, 100 farmers are growing coffee. Each of the farmers, what is their acreage? Average, let's say one acre per farmer. Let's say there are 100 farmers with 100 acres of land. So if those farmers harvest the coffee, if we certify only the farmers, after harvest, where does the product go? If the product is sold or is processed by the farmers, we ask, do the farmers have a central processing facility? Do the farmers have a central point where after harvesting the coffee, they bring the coffee for processing? If it's a yes, then we also certify the processing unit. But if farmers don't have a central processing unit, there are two options. One, they can subcontract processing to a certified entity. I don't know if I'm bringing a lot of technicalities, but I'm just trying to give you the insights. If the farmers don't have a processing facility, they can subcontract processing to a certified entity so that the coffee is processed by that certified entity, but it still belongs to the farmers and then it remains certified. Or the farmers can just end at that and then they sell the coffee at that point to someone that is certified. Then the coffee doesn't belong to the farmers, but the coffee remains certified. If the farmers don't have a processing facility and then they get the coffee and process it anywhere that is not certified, then the coffee loses the certification status. It is no longer certified. In certification, it's more about traceability. And if it's not traceable, it's not certifiable. We need to know if the farmers, where are they getting their seed or their planting material? Where are they planting? After harvesting, where is the product moving? What are the processing steps? Are there additives? Are there not additives? If there are additives, are they compliant to the regulation? So basically, we follow the coffee from before even planting, because organic has a conversion period of up to 3 years. So if you come today and then you want to be certified, let's say organic, we expect you to have started practicing organic at least like 3 years back from today. We expect you to have started practicing organic at least 3 years from today. Otherwise, we can do the audit, but then put you in conversion. Depending, we can put you in conversion year 1, then the next year conversion year 2, then the other year conversion year 3, then the following year is when you can be certified. So if you come to be certified organic, then that means you need to have started practicing organic like 3 years ago. I think that's enough insight about organic certification. Now, fair trade is a social and environmental standard of coffee. But just like the name sounds, fair trade, it ensures there is fair prices for the coffee along the value chain. Now, fair trade, its main focus is on the farmer. Just like my colleague mentioned about the premiums are intended to be given to the farmers. So what is happening if the farmers are getting a third of the premiums that are being remitted, then it is unfair to the farmer, because we know this normal trade for those that have done agriculture and those that are in farming. Usually the farmer is one person that puts in a lot, but is one person that gains the least practically if you've been in farming. I was saying, if you're not fair trade certified, generally what happens in the market is, or what happens generally in agricultural production, the farmer, that person that goes to the shop or that goes to wherever and buys seed, goes to the garden, does the planting, the weeding, harvesting and everything. They put in the greatest effort, but then if you go for margins, they get the least margins, if I would say. So fair trade tries to ensure that that farmer that is putting in a lot in the production gains something from their farming. That's why in fair trade we have the premiums, and then they also set like minimum prices. Now, in the minimum prices, it's trying to protect the farmer. Regardless of the price changes, the farmer has to break even. The farmer has to break even. For those that have done farming, it is very possible for you to incur, let's say 1 million Ugandan shillings, 1 million Ugandan shillings in farming something, and at the end of the day, your output is like 400,000. It is very possible. So that means the farmer is operating at a loss. But for fair trade, it tries to buffer the farmer such that, fine, we know the markets are not stable, but they set some minimums such that at the end of the day, the farmer at least breaks even and doesn't make a loss, regardless of the price changes. So fair trade just looks at ensuring that there is fair trade along the value chain of coffee, but with much emphasis on the farmer, that farmer that is putting in a lot to do the production. We have also a Rainforest Alliance, or call it UTS. Okay, it merged with UTS in 2018, then it became one standard. Both of them are environmental and social standards, but one bought the other. Just like in any other business, usually there are competitors. So both of them were social and environmental standards, but now Rainforest took over UTS and then it became one standard. But it focuses mainly on social welfare, protecting the environment and upholding workers' rights. So in Rainforest Alliance, this is where you find issues of minimum wage, working hours, do people have contracts, the social bit, and then also protecting the environment. We have bird friendly. It is mainly biodiversity. But the major certifications, the major ones for coffee are organic, Fairtrade, and Rainforest Alliance. These other ones, depending, like the market may demand. I'm not saying they're okay, the market may demand, but they are not major ones. Like they are, you can even hardly find someone being certified by bird friendly. But because bird friendly just focuses on ensuring that biodiversity of birds is not decreased. As you're farming the coffee, your coffee should be your coffee plantation should be in an area with trees, such that birds still have somewhere they can come and hang on, and a few other things they check during audit. It is also standard for coffee, but not so as common as the first three that I presented. Then the last one, which is 4C. 4C also basically is a social. It focuses on the good practices, including the requirements for economic, social, and environmental conditions for coffee production. Like I said, all coffee standards are social and environmental standards. So just depending on the focus of the standard, one may focus on one thing than the other, and then the market, depending on your targeted market, will ask you for a given certification standard. So I'll take you through the overview or the application process. Then after, I'll give you a little dive into organic, what specifically happens, then we can proceed. Usually, certification starts with an application form. Of course, you need to tell us what you want to certify. If it's a group of farmers, what are they growing? Where are they located? Acreage. Of course, there are templates depending on the CB that you're using, but also when requesting for an application form, anyway, usually CBs are transparent, usually, because offering a certificate for a given standard requires that you have accreditation for that standard. So you may need, let's say, certification for, let's say, bird friendly, and country union doesn't have accreditation to offer that certificate. Accreditation is like the authority to offer a valid certificate for that standard. Because as CBs, we are just third parties. We are not the standard owners. So the standard owner brings a standard, then the CB applies to have accreditation for that standard, such that the CB can assess compliance of that standard on behalf of the standard owner. So even the CB, of course, the standard owner will check if do you have this, do you have an auditor, do you have a certifier, do you need AB, human resource and everything like that before they are given accreditation. So as you're getting an application form for a given standard, it should be from a CB with accreditation for that standard. But like I said, usually CBs are transparent, and if they don't have an accreditation or auditor, you can have an accreditation but no available auditor. They'll tell you that. But for auditors, it is something that they can always get from neighboring countries, then to come and do the audit. So it starts with an application form. Then in the application form, after telling the CB what you want to get certified. If it's a group of farmers, how many farmers, where are they located, their acreage, those details that you provide the CB with. They do an application review and they send you what we call an invoice or offer letter, telling you that depending on the scope that you want, average, this will be the cost. Now, after giving you the cost, and then you accept it's an invoice, so you know the average that you'll be paying or the exact amount that you'll be paying. Then if you accept that, then you sign the offer letter, then you share back, then you make the payment, they schedule for an on-site audit. Then if, of course, on-site audit is assessing compliance, then depending on whether or not there are entities, you close them. And if you close them sufficiently, that's when the certification decision is made. Specifically for organic, after you sending in the application and then signing the offer letter, we ask you to send us the organic system plan. Organic system plan is like a breakdown of how you do your organic farming. We review, do you have a system? Because during audit, you are not just visiting farms to see if they are compliant or not. We are auditing or we are assessing the system to see if the system if the system in place is in position to ensure compliance within the farmer group. Remember, I told you during audit, we don't visit all the farmers. We don't inspect all the farmers. So for that percentage or for that sample that we are inspecting, we are just trying to assess whether the internal control system has really does the job of ensuring compliance within the group. So in short, we are just trying to see if the system really works. We just sample out farmers and then we see if the system really works. So do you have ICS manager? Do you have internal inspectors? Did you conduct 100% internal inspections if it's a group? Because before audit, it is incumbent or it is mandatory that the operator does 100% of internal inspections. Failure to do that, if I come for audit and I find you've not done 100% of internal inspections, then I'm obliged to cancel the audit. Then you first assess yourself, your compliance, you clean in-house, then after closure of any NCs that you identify, that's when you're supposed to call the external auditor to come and do the audit. So you send us the organic system plan, that which details how you do your organic farming. Then if it is complete and compliant, that is when they schedule for an on-site audit. At least on paper, for organic, or at least on paper, you're supposed to first be compliant. Tell us the inputs you use, how you source them and everything. If they're complete and compliant, that's when we schedule for the on-site audit. And then we do the audit. If you get NCs, you have to close them before you're issued with the certificate. So the importance or advantages of certification is that it gives the certified entities a competitive edge in the market. Remember, everyone is having coffee, or everyone is growing what you're growing. But what is making you stand out of the others? What is that special thing that you have that makes your coffee unique from the others? So it gives certified entities a competitive edge. I say generally certified entities because not only farmers get certified. Certification options for organic, you can be certified as a farmer group. You can be certified as a processor. All you do is processing. You have no farmers, but of course, if you're a processor, you must be obtaining your produce from certified entity, from certified farmer groups. You can be a trader. You're just somewhere in between. Farmers do the production, the certified farmers, then they take to a certified processing unit, they process. For you, just buy and sell. But now you get certified as a trader. If you are a roaster, you can be buying coffee, let's say Chivoko, sun-dried cherries or parchment or the green bean from certified entities. Then you do the value addition of roasting and then you sell. So basically, depending on where you stand, That's why I'm generally using certified entities. It's not specifically a farmer, it's not specifically a processor or a trader. Depending on where you stand, certification gives a competitive edge. Then also promote sustainable and ethical practices in the coffee industry. Remember, I'll give an example of Fairtrade. If they're trying to buffer the producer, the farmer, to ensure that the farmer is not operating in losses. One experience I know about farmers was they try something and it's not making profit or it's not breaking even. Farmers just get angry so quickly and they can destroy everything. I'll give an example. Back then, the prices of vanilla were so up there, at least in Uganda. The prices of vanilla were so up there, whereby 1 kg of vanilla could cost more than 100 USD. 1 kilogram. Green bean even, not the cured or the powder. 1 kg could cost more than 100 USD vanilla. So farmers did the planting of vanilla, planting. Now, at the end of the day, I think that the supply superseded the demand. Now the prices fell from more than 100 USD per kg. Right now, it's less than 10 USD per kg of fresh beans. So some farmers just feel like, now this thing is not worth it. They just cut down their vanilla plantations. So the certification give an instance of fair trade, whereby as a farmer, you feel like someone that is taking coffee in the US, someone in a country that you even don't know, is paying you up, is appreciating you for taking good care of your coffee. Then of course because you're gaining more, you still do the practice, the farming or taking care of your garden, and then the chain will continue progressing. Also, since they are eliminating use of synthetic inputs, I'll give an example of organic production. At the other rainforest and what, they are more of promoting sustainable production of coffee in such that, fine, we don't have to get 1,000 kilograms per acre today, but in 5 years we can't even raise 800 or 500. So it promotes sustainable and ethical practices in the coffee industry. Then also it provides consumers with a transparency and assurance of, depending on the standard that you've been certified for. Personally, I'll give an example. I'm Muslim. If I ever find a product anywhere on the face of earth and it's certified halal, I won't ask many questions, because it gives me some kind of assurance that now this is halal, I'm free to consume. But now, if it's not certified, then you go to issues of how was it slaughtered? Does it have what? Does it not have what? Is it toxic? So when something is certified, it gives someone some kind of okay, they believe in the label that they are seeing. If you have a label, you're certified organic, then someone can confidently pay a higher price for what is certified organic, and then they leave the other conventional product because you have a sign or a mark that shows that what you're selling is certified. I give an example, the 3 months hours for IYFEP. I remember in the supermarkets in Germany, they would separate if something is certified organic, it had a bio something. But usually it would cost a penny more, like some more euros more than a product that is not certified. So if you're someone that is into organic products, you as an individual, you want an organic product, you confidently pay that higher price than buying something that is cheaper and it is not certified. Truth to be told, even something that doesn't have the organic mark may have been produced and processed organically, but because it doesn't have that certification, then of course people won't know that it was grown organically. So the mark gives transparency and assurance to the customers. Then challenges in certification. I say high certification cost. I put a question mark on the high certification costs because these things are subjective on how you see them. Okay, if you look at the figure, if you look at the invoice will be big. That's the truth. If you look at the invoice, it will be big. But personally, how I look at it, I'm not looking at the figure. I'm looking at, okay, the figure divided by the number of people getting certified. How much is each of them contributing to the certification cost? I give an example. If you have a group of farmers, let's say having how many people? Because as per the EU, the new EU regulation that we are implementing from the 1st of January 2025, like onwards, a group of farmers can have up to 2,000 farmers. It can have up to 2,000 farmers. So if you take a group of farmers that has, let's say, 2,000 farmers, it's a cooperative, it's a farmer association, it's a farmer something, but it's a group of farmers. Of course, it has to be a legal entity. If it has 2,000 farmers, then the audit days would be about 20. Let's take 20. And you can multiply by a cost of about 700 USD per day. So 20, you can help me do the mathematics. If you look at the figure is high, but depending on how you look at it, then you can try to see it's high, but not high, depending on the eye with which you look at the figure. If the audit days are 20, then you get an invoice of about 14,000 USD for a group of 2,000 farmers. But if you divide that cost by the 2,000 farmers, then each of the farmers is contributing less than 10 USD for the certification. You get what I mean? Each of the farmers will be contributing less than 7 USD for the certification. And now that is where the farmers get it from. Because what usually farmers do, they step aside from the certification. So someone, usually the processor or exporter, comes and foots that bill. He uses their money. Then at the end of the day, that person that has paid for the certification cost doesn't give the farmers the value for their product, because the money that is giving the product, it is value. It is that person that put in the money. So basically, it's like the farmer they farmed normally. So that is where farmers get it wrong. If you remove the burden, if you don't look at the figure as it is, and you try to distribute it among the farmers, then you find that each of the farmers is contributing so little to the certification cost. And then the certificate at the end of the day, it belongs to the whole group. It belongs to the whole group. So part of the recommendations that I would give is having farmers own or take up certification of their own farmer groups or cooperatives. Because at the end of the day, if you foot your bill, as farmers, if you tell farmers that from this season's harvest, as a cooperative or as a farmer association, we are just going to deduct, let's say, 2 kilograms of coffee per farmer. Those 2 kilograms of coffee, we won't give you the money, but we are going to amass for the 2,000 farmers, and the money we get from the sale of those 2 kilograms of coffee, we will use that money to facilitate the certification of the following year. I don't think farmers would find that a challenge, especially if they would be getting the value, or they will be getting the premium they should be getting from their certificate. So that is how I look at it. And that's why, that's the reason I say that I put question marks on the high certification cost. But remember, like I said, certification is market driven. What makes people, let's say, get certified for 1 year and not come back is not having market that is demanding for the certificate they are applying or for the certification that they have. But if really you have a market for the certification that you have or that you're applying for, you won't feel like the certification cost is big. We have people that pay way a lot of money for certification, and they have been in the business for over 10 years, and they keep coming back each and every year for their certificate. So if you have the client or the people that are demanding, if your market is demanding for your certificate or for your products to be certified for that standard, I'm sure you won't see the certification cost as being huge. Now the other,
Shamiru, I'm sorry. I think because of the time, maybe would it be possible to come to an end with your presentation soon?
it's okay. In 1 minute, I can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, the other challenge is the implementation cost. Remember, as a farmer group, you're supposed to be implement before even applying for certification. Then the less knowledge about the standards and compliance requirements. If people on this platform woke up a morning and they say they want to go to organically certified, I'm sure apart from the application form that they can fill and they don't know what else entails the application. So there's some knowledge gap. Then working in isolation, many farmers work as themselves. They are not so much in a group. Okay, the cooperative may be there, but people don't believe in the cooperative. So each of them is on their own. That's the challenge they find. Then limited access. Farmers don't have that market access to that international market that is in the certification. It's that person that has access to the market. So at the end of the day, the farmer is somewhere in between. In short, that is what I had to share with you. I don't know if we have more questions.
Thank you so much. We just have such little time left, and that's why we kind of interrupted, and sorry for that, but we thought maybe it would be nice to have time in the end for like a closing general discussion. So if anyone has any questions about the presentation, I think Julius has a question, maybe. Am I
Yes,
right?
I do have a question. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much, our wonderful moderators and also the guest speakers. Thank you so much. I have like two questions, and I would love to direct them to Mr. Shamiru Masego. Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. I wanted to inquire about is there a possibility of being granted an opportunity? For example, I've observed that Ibero, the coffee company here in Uganda, it's organically certified. Is it possible for me to use their certification? For example, if I am exporting roasted ground coffee through their organic certification, is that possibility? Okay. Then what are some of the challenges that farmers face when they are transitioning from conventional to organic farming methods? Thank you.
Do I respond now or I take them at once and respond at once?
Yes,
Yeah,
you can respond.
I think so too.
Sorry?
Yes, I think it would be better to respond now so that we don't lose focus or get lost in other questions.
Okay. One, using someone else's certificate. Now, the certificate belongs to a legal entity, so it is only Ibero that can use their certificate to export. I think that's answered. The certificate belongs to a legal entity. So, okay, a lot of technicalities, but in the export, there are documents you have to ask from the CB, the TC, the transaction certificate, or the COI if you're exporting. It is only Ibero that has access to traces where it can get the COI for it to sell something as organic. So in short, it is only the legal entity that applies for the certificate that can use the certificate to sell that as organic. I hope that question Mr. Julius.
Okay.
Right?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Then challenges faced in transition. Remember, I would say that the conventional, if it's organic, the conventional agriculture is a bit quick, if I would say. It's a bit quick. And also the solutions are a one-time thing. If I come today and I find a pest, if I just run to the agro input shop and I get a pesticide, I can apply two, 3 times and then that is done. That is gone for that pest. If there are weeds, I can do one person, go to the shop. Of course, farmers have a way. There is no selective herbicide for let's say weeding coffee, but farmers have how technically they handle glyphosate to ensure that they can weed their coffee with it. So part of the challenges is that the organic farming is a bit costly in implementation and then demanding more labor, because if it's weeding, it will be money. You'll have to get, if you have 5 acres, you have 10, 20 people, get hose and do the weeding. If it is the pests, then you have to use not conventional, but mechanical methods of controlling the pests. So it is a bit also hectic compared to the conventional. Then usually the yields are a bit lower compared to conventional. Because if someone just gets, let's say, a bag of DAP or NPK or water and puts in a garden, they provide readily available nutrients to the plant. So even if there are signs of deficiency and you put it today, in 1 week, the signs may be gone. But then the organic way relies more on getting what you get, recycling, nutrient recycling. What you're harvesting, if it's coffee, if you're doing pulping, at the end of the day, get the husks, bring them back, they take time to decompose. So there might be a decrease in yield. But one thing, why yields, practically yields don't decline, because given the higher price that farmers get from being certified, it pushes them more to caring for their farms more. So at the end of the day, the yields usually they don't drop, from experience.
Thank you for answering those questions. And I think Mercy also wanted to add something, or do you have a question, Mercy?
Okay, hi. So I wanted to inquire, what if I have a certified coffee nursery? Can I still use those documents to venture into the export market of my green beans? Like, okay, we can work with maybe my other fellow participants, and then we use, because the farm we have, it's called Farm Holdings Limited, but it has a certified nursery. I don't know if you can still connect with the green beans.
Come again. Okay, you are a bit breaking, so I need to get the start of the question.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, there is noise. But I was inquiring that what if I have a certified coffee nursery, like where we have the KR varieties? Can I still use those documents for certification to export my coffee?
It's a no, in short, because you certified the nursery. Remember, I told you for certification, we certify the whole chain. I give an example. Even if you buy the green bean from Ibero that is certified, and you're not certified, and then you roast them. Actually, even if you do nothing, but the mere fact you've bought them from Ibero and you're selling them as you can't sell them as organic certified. Does that now make sense? If any entity touches the product and is not certified, then the product loses its certification status. So as a roaster, you need to apply, at least if you're buying from Ibero, at least you apply as a processor, because you're going to roast. Roasting is processing. You get it, eh? So you buy a product from a certified entity, let's say Ibero. I'm using Ibero because it's what has been mentioned here. You buy, let's say, from Ibero, then you do the roasting, then you can sell as certified because you've bought it from a certified entity, and then you're also certified as a processor and or exporter.
Are there any? Sorry, Mercy, go ahead.
No, it's okay. It's now understood.
Okay, then are there any other questions? Because if not, maybe we can quickly go over the questions on the slides. And I think since we don't have much time left, maybe from both of our guests, we can get just answers in one sentence so that we can still try to align with the time limit we had, if that works for you. Maybe Dr. Tesfaye, you can start if you have anything to add to the questions or anything to mention.
Okay. What I want to add here is that farmers can decide for themselves, in fact, as far as there are parallel markets. But this time, certification has become a de facto supply chain management. So selling products requires compliance. So if they fail to meet the certification, it would be difficult for them to sell their products in the international market. So just as you said, Shamiru, we cannot say that it is high, in fact, for some reason, the certification cost, but compliance goes around. Whenever they keep on producing, they need to comply every time. For example, the labor standards increase their costs. So as far as it just needs to have some parallel markets just to decide for themselves. Otherwise, it would be difficult for them to sell the products in the international. So what they can do here in this regard is establishing partnership and equitable trading partner with their buyers in the international market. That would significantly help the trust established between them, the secure demand, everything would motivate them to do whatever the certification requires them to do. So I think it's good to establish a trading partner, direct trading partner with their buyers. That's what I recommend for young Ugandan farmers. If they are planning to get certification, it would be an advantage for them to establish direct trading on the way that reduces their costs along the value chain.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Shamiru Masego, based on your work or experience, how realistic is it for a smallholder farmer to achieve and maintain a certification? Can you maybe also answer it in one sentence? You are still on mute.
Sorry. It combines in the first question also, because if farmers don't have access to the markets, then getting certified and maintaining certification becomes a bit so hard. So in one statement, I would say farmers need to have their cooperatives or groups or whichever legal entities they have, they need to be active, and all the farmers need to be into it, not leaving all the work to one person or two. If all the farmers are into it, then help them in capacity building, teach them the standard, because if they don't know the standard, they'll end up getting external parties to help them implement the standard. But if they know the standard themselves, there's no clause that makes one of the farmers not be the ICS manager, the farmers not be internal inspectors. So if you just build capacity within the farmers themselves, and then the associations or legal or cooperatives or whichever legal entity they have is active and all of them are into that thing, then they have partnerships with the market, then they can really have and maintain their certification year in, year out.
Okay, thank you. So I think we can come to our last slide then. Thank you so much for our experts. We have just a question for the participants. A closing reflection. Please just write one sentence in the chat. What information was new for you today? I think overall we had like really good input from theory and practice. Thank you, Dr. Tesfaye, and thank you, Shamiru, for that. Okay, so if everybody that had the option to stay in the call, everybody could write one sentence in the chat what new information for them was today. That would be great. Okay, yeah, I think we have a lot regarding the problems with the premium and the not really automatic synergies. Okay, that we have different organic certifications. That's also interesting. And thank you for also including the steps of getting a certification, Mr. Masego. Yeah, and in general, I think the amount of impact of cooperatives. Yeah, I think that sums it up really good. I think cooperatives and market access are the key points when it comes to certifications. Okay, so thank you, everybody. Thanks for teaching us to the experts. Zeynep, do you want to add something?
No, thank you, everyone, and sorry for rushing in the end because of the time limit, but I think it was really nice. Like Judith said, we all had some practical experience, and with Dr. Tesfaye, we got some academic evidence as well, which was nice, and hopefully it was beneficial for everyone. And yeah, thanks everyone for being here today.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you so much. And as usual, I think that our speakers are fine when we share their contacts with the group in the aftermath of the session. So in case there are some questions, they can get in contact with you directly. Is that fine with you?
It's fine with me.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.